This is William Tidcup and Ryan Leary, and you're listening, hopefully watching, the Practitioner Corner. We got Neil on today, and we're going to be learning all about his career, so we're excited to have him on the show. Neil, would you do us a favor, the audience a favor, and introduce yourself?
Hey, Neil Lenane. I lead our talent acquisition group at Progressive Insurance Company.
All righty. So, how long you been in TA? Ish.
TA specifically, 8 years.
Okay.
HR, I'm probably celebrating my 24th, 25th year, and been in the insurance industry 37 years.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
So you got good in talent in HR in insurance, and you just stayed there.
Outside of college, joined the insurance industry and been with it ever since. It's a great industry. It's super stable, and when you think about careers and skill sets, insurance companies offer a lot of those. It's more than just hey, a claim or
Right.
being a product manager and selling a policy, but all kinds of roles there. But yeah, I've been 37 years with two different companies, and like I said, I have enjoyed being in the insurance industry.
Well, two things you don't often hear, Neil, is 37 years for two companies. Number one.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's an accomplishment there, and then being in HR, right, through the thick and thin of it, that long. So we've got a lot to learn. I'm excited for today.
Appreciate you having me.
Insurance, highly regulated industry, and then you got HR with that as well.
Yep.
So why don't we go back? We'll get back to Progressive, of course, but why don't we go back to high school, college?
Sure.
What was the dream? What did you want to be?
Well, I wouldn't have said we wouldn't have had said being insurance, right? So we always like to say like, hey, I didn't grow up to say, hey, I wanted to be a claim rep, but somewhere along the line, that's what I ended up doing. Coming out of the University of Georgia. So I was a New York City kid. I transferred to Atlanta, finished up high school, and then University of Georgia was a great option, has a great business school. I'm a college football junkie, so SEC football was great. I didn't grow up on it, but I didn't come out of there saying, hey, I was my major actually was human resources, and it's really tied to I love sports and I love coaching, and HR really has all those elements. It's about think about whether it's college or pros. It's about selecting good players, developing good players, managing, coaching good players. All those elements come into the HR space. Paying players, all those things are HR elements. So theirs was the connection. I was fascinated.
Yeah.
And then from there, once I graduated, I was in Atlanta, but it was tough for a graduate trying to get an HR job in Atlanta because a lot of headquarters there, a lot of regional headquarters there. And so it was tough to break in at a certain job and needed to pay the bills. So I started applying for jobs. One of them was an insurance company. I was with Aetna. I happened to be there only 3 years altogether before I joined Progressive. But it gave me a good foundation from a business perspective. And that's where really good HR practitioners and particularly recruiting practitioners come from when they come from the business because they know the business. And so that's kind of how I got in there from college into the insurance industry.
That's interesting because that's kind of like I remember being at that moment of graduating college and thinking you were just going to own the world, right? And you couldn't get in, so you had to take what you could get to break into the company and build your way. So I think that's interesting that you bring that up because actually a lot of people that listen to this particular show, they're at the age of graduation, coming out of college. And so hearing that I think is super helpful for them and along at least coming out of college and starting their career.
I remember interviewing post-college, and it was happened to be an HR job, and it was for a dairy company in Athens, Georgia. And I had a really good interview, especially for being a college kid. I was able to hold my own just coming out. Hey, I don't really have much work experience in space. But that's ultimately what ended up being some of the, hey, manager, I love the interview, but I've got a really tenured group. And without some of that business knowledge of being in the dairy industry,
That's right. You're gonna get crushed.
relatability is going to be a challenge. And to Ryan's point earlier, I think you're right. You've got to start somewhere to learn the business and then kind of work your way over. It's really hard to just jump into it from the very beginning.
Right.
Unless it's some really entry level role. Maybe you're working for a staffing agency and you're doing recruiting coordinator type of activities. But for the most part, whether it's HR or talent acquisition, learning the business is really key.
What I like about it is you can talk to people, especially early in your career, if it went in both on the HR side and recruiting. It's like, I did that job.
Yep.
I did that bit. So, it's I grew up in retail, so a little bit different. The people that were really successful when I was in retail were the people that started as cashiers.
Yeah.
Or started at grabbing the buggies and stuff like that. The people that bagged groceries,
Yeah.
they're the ones that were all store managers.
That's right.
Because they did the job. They knew they worked around and worked their way up, and so they knew all the jobs.
That's right. It's that credibility piece, right? Because particularly when either you're a leader or if you're in HR or even if you're a recruiter trying to get someone to work, having that credibility that I've done it allows you to have a leg up on influence. And a lot of these jobs are about influencing people.
And they don't teach influence at SHRM. That's not one of the bits.
Don't teach it in college either. I don't remember Influence 101 either.
No.
They might teach negotiation.
That's right.
You might get a class on negotiation
Yeah.
or something that might help you, but not pure influence. How do I actually get this person to get
That's
from A
right.
to B? Yeah.
And that wouldn't be a bad class to offer.
Great.
To offer. I think that's
It'd be a
actually
great class, right? It's a needed skill, no matter even in your personal life, right? Influencing others when you're not really necessarily the decision maker is a key critical skill.
Yeah.
For young folks, older folks, whatever, because every day, and it leads into negotiations at times, but it also means, hey, how do I get others to follow along? It takes trust and credibility, and that's where influence plays a part, to Ryan's point.
Yeah, I'd even argue that a class on influence would be more valuable than a class on negotiation. It's just
I'm
going to
with you,
have...
Ryan.
Yeah, William doesn't...
I had a really, really good negotiation. Oh, no. But I was in an MBA program, so I had a professor that was an expert at negotiations, and he had done union negotiations, both for and against, and so he was just great. And the entire class, y'all would love this. The entire class was scenarios. So we'd have a class of like 30 students, and you'd break out into 15 and 15. One was pro, one was against. Like,
Yep.
all right. And then here's the scenario. Everybody read the same thing, and that was the class. So, like, you're going through all the steps, and you had to by the end of the class, you had to reach a settlement. You had to somehow.
Yeah.
You had to get there. Clock's running. So, I would definitely take the influence class.
Yeah.
However, if I would have Professor Gerhardt, definitely take the negotiator. After I took his first class, I changed my schedule to then take his more advanced classes because it was so good. So anyhow,
I've never had that experience at college.
oh my God,
I
it was
never
so
did.
good. Well,
I just never had. Like, it was, I went to school and I went to school. I never
Ryan,
attached to a professor.
you had the same. So I went to public school, high school. Then I went to Bama, big giant public university. Then I went to University of Arizona, big public university, and then I went to a private school or a private college. Completely different experience.
Right.
We had 100 professors for 300 students. Dude,
Yeah.
1 on 3.
No.
So I could just walk down the halls and step into somebody's office and go, "Hey, tell me a little bit about."
Yeah, no.
Like-
Most of my class sizes were 100, 200.
Oh,
like
no.
we were in a stadium. But anyhow, Neil, curious. Okay, so you took a claims rep job.
That's
Get in
it.
there. You're grinding away.
How
Where
was
did
it?
Yeah. How was it? And two, how did you start to kind of navigate? Did you see a path? Did you know where you want it to go, or did it just organically happen? Walk us through that.
When you're in a business operations kind of role, after a while, if you're talented and you're willing to work hard, you start to become real good. And then after a while, folks start to come to you and they start asking advice, and then you're informal mentoring, and then over time you may be asked by you know some leaders in the organization to maybe be formal mentors, and you start to get the roots of trying to be a leader in the organization. That interested me. Again, it was tied back to my love of sports, that coaching, and so over time, you gain to a level of performance and subject matter expertise, and then you start competing for leadership roles. And again, there's where the past skills. Now, insurance, being a claim rep, taught a lot. William talked about negotiations. You're learning that on the fly. You're learning about interpreting contracts. You're learning about empathy, right? Sometimes you maybe just a bumper claim, but then there were times where I had to handle a fatality, and that's a totally different game. You're walking into someone's house, and you're before you're even thinking about anything about trying to settle a claim, you're faced with life, right?
Right.
My 3-year-old kid was just killed in this car accident. And that's where you start to learn all kinds of things about, empathy and all the other social and, aspects of human nature go into play at that moment. So you just kind of grow as a human in that space over time.
Right. So what did the things that you did at Aetna, what made you switch? What made you attracted to Progressive?
Just, I always had that growth mindset, and it was the opportunity to learn stuff. So at Aetna, I was handling just primarily injury claims,
Right.
for third-party losses. And I had a territory, and I would go around the state of Georgia, and I would negotiate with, individuals and sometimes attorneys. But I wanted to learn other aspects, and that was kind of the Progressive model, right? That growth mindset, Peter B. Lewis, right? Risk, learn, grow. And the opportunity to come in and learn and do different things, maybe learn the property side, maybe learn other things like medical, maybe homeowners. Just those things was attractive in switching companies.
And they were hot. Progressive was hot when you joined them. They were the up and comers.
They were. I mean, if you think about it, they started in 37 as a non-standard. By the time I get there in 1990, we're just starting to, we're maybe 8,000 employees at the time, and we're getting into, standard and other products. And, that's kind of their mission, like where they're offering, they want customers for life. And so they offer a lot of different products to keep folks, connected to the overall mission. Today we're about 60 to 65,000 employees, and so the growth has been there. So the opportunities to do different things, and what I admire is really heavy culture on internal movement. And it's sort of like, hey, I'm fascinated that I can drive my own bus. If I want to go try something, again, that mentality, risk, learn, grow, I can try it. And if I can do well, I can take it from there. And if I don't, I have opportunities to do something else.
Let's unpack that a little bit. So
Yeah.
I went from a small company, right? I'm gonna use my personal experience here. We're from a small company in Connexa, a couple hundred people to 3,000, and then IBM acquires. So becomes a massive company, and
Yep.
we were given serial numbers, right? And so 2G5772. I should just get it on me somewhere. Like that was my serial number at IBM. I love the people that I worked with because they transitioned from the previous company, but I never acclimated to the big culture of the company. So when you come in at 8,000 people, you're right in the middle of that. Like you're starting to grow, right? So now you're 60, 65,000. Talk about that a little bit. How does one go from 8,000 to 60,000 and
Yeah.
maintain sanity and build a career?
It's a targeted effort. And think about, Ryan, you were talking favorably about what you enjoyed about that small atmosphere. So you're right. So we're about 8,000. And, even before I joined, I would talk to my manager when they were like a couple of thousand, right? But what we learned is, hey, what do you like the most about being here? Because the job is hard. Right? You never know with how much volume may come in. We talked about earlier the types of claims that you may get. You may get, like I said, a simple auto damage claim, but then you may get wow, you got a fatality claim, and that tugs at you. But what I learned across the way that people loved about the company was the people they worked with, no matter how tough the job was. And we realized that if we're going to grow and scale and continue this culture going from 1,000 to 8,000 to eventually 60,000, we had to be intentional about our ability to be leadership and how to make that cultural experience scale to that size. So I think it starts with leaders just being intentional and the willingness to pay it forward.
I love that. Oh my God. So when you came over from Aetna to Progressive, you were still in claims. You were still
That's
more
right.
of an operational role.
That's right.
Because your degree and your background and love of HR, what was the kind of the first movement over into that area? First of all, how'd you get over there?
Yeah, that's a great story. So I was 3 years with Aetna, and then about 1990 I moved to Progressive, and I was in that claims organization all the way till about 2000.
Yeah.
And a personal circumstance happened where I lost a family member, and at that point, it was my spouse at the time, and it gave me a reflection point, like, hey, what is it that when you lose someone you're close to, you're like, what's your purpose in life? Right? And so here it is, I have this degree that's something I really loved. I enjoy doing what I'm doing and I'm making good money. How do I merge those things? And you both have been really tied to the HR and talent acquisition space. The one thing you can say that you enjoy is that you get to make a difference in someone's life.
Sure.
Right? And so we all thrive about making a difference. So there's the opportunity there was right staring at me. It was an opportunity to think about doing something different, coming off, a personal tragedy of the situation. And I said, I'm going to do it because I need a new purpose to make sense of what just happened to me. And that was my purpose. It was the ability to jump in at the space. At that point, I was an established leader in claims. We know HR, really good HR professionals. Many of them come from the business, and so I made the leap over. And then, that was about 2000, and I haven't looked back from the HR world since then.
24 years later, you're still in HR.
That's right.
Still moving along. So let's run through that HR journey. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So we eventually get into talent, and you're about 8 years in this particular space. But prior to that, what does that journey look like? How did you end up here?
Yeah. So I started off as supporting one of the states in Progressive's claims organization.
Right.
Eventually that grows, and then over
Is that
time
a
I
business
worked my
partner role?
business
HR
partner
business
role. Great.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So I'm supporting a business, and because I was a leader in claims, I connected well with some of the claim reps and the leaders because, hey, back to your point
Did the
earlier,
job.
hey, I did the job,
Makes sense,
right?
right.
So I could
Yeah.
relate. Then I had the opportunity to kind of compete for roles where, I'm leading, HR organizations for several states. And so I stay on this, what I call field HR track, for probably 10 years of that the last 24, I should say. And then I have an opportunity to move into a corporate setting. And from there,
That's different.
totally different.
That's
And,
different. That's a different animal right there.
Yeah. So I'm then taking my, business experience, my business leadership experience, my field HR, and I'm wrapping it up, and Progressive happens to create a role, and it's called the Director of Employee Experience.
You're
Fantastic.
You're
kidding.
managing elements of talent management. You're managing elements of DE&I programs, and you're saying, hey, we want you to build out what the ideal employee experience could look like
Dude, that's so
with
far
with
ahead
your
of
team.
people.
Yeah. So did they
And
create this for you specifically?
the job was created, and I competed for it.
Right.
Got it.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so
This is like 2010. This is way
this is
before.
2010 exactly. So it wasn't
This is
created
way-
specifically for me, but I was, one of a handful of people who had the opportunity to compete.
Where?
And-
Yeah. Before we jump on, Where are we at employee size at this point?
Well, that's a good point.
That is a great question.
Probably in the 30s. I'm going to have to guess
Okay.
at that.
Yeah.
So the
Right. We're
next
probably
half
in the
of the
30s.
yeah, so the next half of the journey here, like
Yeah.
now we're getting serious about people.
But you're at
Yeah.
corporate, which
Don't hold
means
me to the
you,
number, but we're probably in the
Yeah.
30s at that
Yeah.
point.
yeah,
Somewhere
Okay.
in
yeah.
that 30s count. 30,000s.
I'm always fascinated, Neil, with practitioners, the decision on which to stay a generalist, and
Yeah.
kind of move up the
Mhm.
ranks of a generalist, or to then go out and do specialization. And go into comp, go into benefits,
Sure.
go into any of the silos, and you have all this wonderful HR experience, and then you do the employee experience.
Yep.
So you made the decision to do some type of specialization. Did you
Sure.
did you ever?
I think
Yeah.
as you think about it, look at them as critical experiences, right? So let's say you're in
Mm,
job X and you want to move to job Y.
right.
You ask yourself, what are the critical things that I need to be good at or I've had done in job X in order to be in job Y someday? So you look at it, and so let's say I'm making up example. Let's say you want to be the chief financial officer of a company. I have to have some steps that I've had to have taken in order to get there. So I think depending on where I was wanting to go and be a senior leader in an HR organization, I needed to have some different experiences, both on the corporate and on the field side, plus the business side was helping me if I was going to be successful ever being a senior leader in HR.
Right. Right. No, I can see that. I can
Yeah,
see that in the role of EX, which is now what we call it. The role of EX, y'all were pioneering. Y'all were way early in that game.
yeah.
So, what did you? All of a sudden, you get the job. What had you? Because there's not like a books written on it. There's no
No,
conferences that are running tracks on it or anything
no,
There's
like
not a
that.
lot of tech at that point.
And not
no.
like tech. There's not a playbook. Like how'd you create it?
Well, you're getting different elements, right? So part of your job is you're getting engagement surveying, you're
Right.
getting the DE&I pieces, and there's a learning to that, and how do we grow those programs and make them part of your culture. There's aspects of performance management, setting expectations through objectives, right? Evaluations, assessments. For a period of time, I had the leadership learning development group. So
Oh
you're
wow.
getting all of these pieces that make up what an
Right.
employee is going to be going through, and the job continues to evolve. But again, it's all centered around what do we want an employee here at this company? What experiences do we want them to have? And we're centralizing some of those efforts. And that was the crux of the job. It was how do we centralize them to get traction versus having them live in all the different business groups and having different experiences from there. How
Well,
do we have a unified experience?
you mentioned the word intentionality earlier.
I
This
did.
is intentionality, right? Personified is you're thinking about their experience, and then you're trying different things. I'm
That's
sure
right.
some things worked well, some things didn't work well. Like that's just life.
Yeah.
So you try programs to move people through this experience, and again, it's never done. It's never you never get
Mhm.
to a point where you're like, we got it.
Nope.
Yeah. So
Nope.
to build on that question I have here is curiosity really is today companies will do this for a business reason, right? Business reason. At that time, companies were doing this, but it really wasn't the foundation of a lot of companies, right? They knew they had to do, they wanted to do
Yeah.
something. Was this more of a business decision like, hey, we're gonna go from 30 to 60. We need an experience here. Or
Yeah.
You
was
can't be
this people
churning. You
right, we
can't be
can't be
churning.
churning people.
Yeah.
Or was this more people got together and said, you know what? We really care about employees. Let's make a good experience, but it really wasn't tied to a business
Yeah.
reason.
There was probably four things that I would say were the pillars, right? If you build it on Ryan's question, right? You're scaling to growth, right?
Hmm.
You can't have 30 different versions of this if you want to go from an 8,000 base employee to a 30,000 or someday be 60. And well, by the way, we have aspirations to maybe be over 100 based on where things go. So preparing for growth. Retention, right? You've got to have, William talked about it. You've got to have an ideal profile about what things employees need if they're going to continue to stay with you.
Right.
Same thing is from an engagement. If I'm going to go that extra mile as an employee to service, whether it's external or internal customers, my engagement is a critical aspect to that. So you're building on those experiences. And then lastly, we got to remember this is a business. We got to do this efficiently, right? And so this, the centralization allows you to scale, build subject matter expertise, but do it in a manner where it's not breaking the bank in terms of how much it's costing you to do these programs.
I'm fascinated because you're consumer facing. So there's a customer experience somewhere in this process,
for
right?
sure.
There's a
Absolutely.
customer experience. Did you ever lean or pull from some of the things that were the customer experience and pull those into the employee experience?
Yeah, there are really almost 3 or 4 customers, right? There's the policyholder,
Right.
right? There is the person whom your policyholder may have had an accident with. Okay,
Good
that's a
point.
different experience. There is the vendors who you partner with to bring those external and customer experiences to life. Example, body shops that you partner with to get someone's car back on their driveway, a key thing, right? And then lastly, it's like how do we service each other? Like how does IT service a claim rep in the field who's servicing an external customer? So you're really managing all those 4 dynamics when you think about some of those things.
Right. And you pulled some of that learning into the employee experience.
You have to, right?
Yeah.
Because the employee, if I'm an employee servicing an internal employee, I may like, hey, how do I get your laptop up and running? There's a
Right.
service level there. I'm on the phones, and how do I talk to customers in terms of, hey, I'm here to help you service your policy today. What changes would you like to make? Or if you've had a claim. So you're bringing what skills and experiences people need to service all of those different types of customers' scenarios.
Did you look at offboarding during this? What the offboarding experience would be?
Well, let's calibrate. Offboarding is when people leave the organization, right?
Right.
Correct, yeah.
And think about it this way: from a human perspective, there's respect, there's the dignity piece. From the business side, remember, hey Ryan, you're a talented individual. You're going to leave us at some point possibly and go on to do even bigger and better things. Let's also remember you could be a progressive policyholder. So how I
100%.
have that
Correct.
interaction
Good
there
point.
in
Exactly
terms of
why I
the
was asking that
offboarding
question.
is, plus what can I learn from Ryan? Hey, I'm going to miss Ryan. He added a lot to the organization, but what can we learn from Ryan's experiences? He could be helping us, giving us by the feedback he gives us and say, hey,
Right.
here's the things that I think worked well. Here were the things that I think you guys could have done better. So offboarding, a critical aspect in this human space, particularly to learn and grow your business.
Yeah, and that was the reason I was asking is, if you're, and I don't know how many people were offboarding at that time or what happens here, but if 1,500 people leave a year, that's potentially 1,500 customers, or at least a high percentage, I would assume, are policy holders at some level that you have to manage that expectation.
It varies, but yes, you first of all, you have employees who are current policyholders. You never know a candidate, so when you're going through the hiring process,
Exactly.
Right.
Family
candidates will even
members,
say,
yeah.
"Hey, what interest?" Well, I'm a policyholder, right? And so I get to know about your company and its culture because I'm one of your customers, and so now I'm really moved by that, and now I kind of want to work in that same industry and or company. So. Absolutely, it is a big circle, and you
It
never
is.
know
Yes.
where you're interacting with folks. You may even be working with a vendor today, and tomorrow they may be a person who applies for one of your jobs inside your own company. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of connection in this particular industry and this space in general.
Yeah.
So what'd you do after EX? What was the What
Over time, the
was the next
job
thing?
continues to grow. You get more pieces, and you now codified it, and you're calling it, hey, now you're leading our complete talent management efforts, and
Wow.
so you're now like, so think about the a three, kind of a three-legged area, right? So you bring people in, when they're here, what's their experience, and then you've got this experience like how do people get rewarded, right? And so those are your kind of your pillars that you're looking at from, where do you move to? I was always fascinated with the acquisition side. Again, it goes back to the coach side, the sports side. Pro teams, acquire talent, college teams recruit kids. That was where I had a lot of passion in. Plus, came from that operational side of the business, right? So I was in claims for years, and so recruiting is like the closest operational job in the HR sense because it's got a clear line of sight. Oh, you want to grow, or Ryan talked earlier about retention. You've got people leaving, you've got to backfill. There's a clear line of sight. If you can do it well in recruiting, you're helping the company's profit and growth right there. Direct. You don't have to sell the mission about why what you do is important, but we all want to grow or we all need help to help us with our jobs, hire people. There's where the connection was for me for talent acquisition.
Challenges. I want to talk about challenges. So we went through some of the bottlenecks you hit coming up in the space. Where's that differ? Obviously recruiting talent management is very different than the other things you were doing. I guess it has a lot of tie-ins, but it's different. Where is it very different? Where are the differences that people who are in talent management may not, or making that transition may not realize that they're going to face?
When let's use the comparison to when you're an operational leader. I'm leading a team of 7, right? And we say
Right.
today, and we say, okay, Ryan, we got all these claims today, and I want you to handle, this side of the city, and William, I need you to go uptown and handle this. So as a leader, you're making operational decisions all day long.
Right.
When you're in the HR space, particularly in field talent acquisition, talent management, you're relying heavily on the influence, right? I've got leaders out there who are consuming. So let's just take the talent management. I've got learning products. I've got performance management things. I've got D&I programs for folks. I've got engagement programs. I'm a leader. I've got to run my day-to-day business, but I also, if I want to be a great leader, I've got to figure out how to ingest this thing. Now I've got to learn how to collaborate and influence people to use those products to be even better leaders. There's where that separation starts to come into play is I'm relying a lot more heavily on influence. How do I
Yeah.
make the business case? Ryan, here's why I think these tools would be great for your organization to help your team continue to grow and for you to continue to be the great leader you are. You got to influence on that stuff.
Which is why we needed a class on influence.
Exactly. That's why
Now
we needed it in
now
college
we're
to
back
start
to
with.
it.
We could have
That's
cut
what,
to the chase.
I said you could have cut 20 years off your career and just went right
Exactly.
to it.
I probably have hair back then. So
what what shocked you about recruiting? I mean, just in general, when because we have a good friend of ours that actually grew up in recruiting, did it so well that the company moved him over to HR
yeah,
and in analytics and things like that. So it's like we talk to him occasionally. I think of him more of as an advisor and friend. And it's like he's constantly learning new stuff because it's like
sure.
it's not what he thought. Because he grew up in one thing, and all of a sudden now he's leading something completely different. And so it's like a brand new day. Every new day, it's like, oh, okay, I didn't know that was going to be there. So
Yeah.
what was the shock? Not shock, but what were unexpected, I guess.
For the most part, you interact with people, operate with a good sense of core values. But there's a handful of people who, for whatever their circumstances are really needing to get a job and will go to different lengths that are probably not appropriate to get that job.
Right,
And the
right,
uptick of that recently that we're seeing is where you sit back and say, that doesn't always feel good, right? Because
Right.
you don't think of, and like when you're moving into the job or you're coming out of college, you're not wired to think about that, right? And so, was I as sticker shock to some? I don't know. I grew up in New York City, so you get to see a lot of stuff, and
You can't be
but
shocked. Come on.
yeah. So worked there for a period of time, as a leader in claims. But it is a little disheartening when you see that type of activity going on, and you've got hundreds of thousands of people who are doing it the right way, and then you've got some handful of folks who, for whatever reason, feel the need to cheat the system. That's
Right.
probably where you're getting into. Hey, that's probably where it's like, I wasn't thinking that was going to be happening on an everyday basis.
Right. Ryan can attest to that because he was in staffing, executive
Yeah.
search.
Yeah.
If
Yeah,
it takes a little, it steals a little of your humanity. Because
that's a great way to say it.
It does,
Yeah.
but in the end, when you're helping somebody get to their next step, get them out
Yeah.
of a jam almost, it's like they genuinely get excited. You almost
Absolutely.
want to be friends with them, and then you remember, no, I'm just making money. I need to go and move on.
That's right.
I'm the person he doesn't want to hire. But at that
No.
time, I was money motivated. It was executive search. I needed to.
Right.
But even there, that's okay. You still have legitimate external and intrinsic motivations.
Right.
Correct.
Okay, it's when you don't. Listen, there are some people who are trying to get in to do something nefarious once they're in, and then there are others who they're that desperate to get a job because they need one, and
Right.
Right.
that's the thing. You're pulling on this, the heartstrings there about, hey, you're able to make it, because we know that what happens when you feel valued as a human when you're able to contribute by working,
Right.
and that's what makes it really tough. It's like that difference that Ryan was talking about earlier gets a little bit muted when you have that kind of situation every once in a while.
Yeah.
Do you see that in AI? Do you see some of this in technology or the misuse of technologies, or is it just bad actors doing bad things? Just
I would say,
humanity.
listen, some people are using AI as a tool, but I
Yeah.
think it just comes down to there are bad actors, and we've
Right.
had that no matter what industry and what parts of society.
Et
Bad
tu,
actors live in
Brutus.
every corner of the
Yep.
neighborhood, so that just is what it is. But
Right.
for the most part, many folks, many companies use AI responsibly, and there are some people who take advantage of that.
No.
Yeah.
So you've been at this for a while, and we're coming
Yep.
down on time. So I'll make this my final question. But you've been at this for a while. What's the next act? Where are we looking at? Where are you growing to in the organization? I'll say in the organization. It could be outside.
Yeah. No. Definitely. Why leave? You got a good thing
Yeah.
going.
That's you're almost in my head, William. I think you're my retirement
It's like
counselor.
retirement.
I got to go learn a new company.
You're gonna exactly. You're gonna put yeah. So I still have a lot to where I want to take the organization in terms of what I want to accomplish. There's always that challenge, like, hey, this is a new job coming. Can I find new sources of skills for the company to continue to grow? Can we continue to scale? Can we find that really cool technology that makes folks' lives a lot easier? So you have those day-to-day challenges. I think if I was to leave tomorrow, here's what I would do. I think the biggest challenge in the talent acquisition space, particularly just recruiting and for particularly young folks particularly, is learning how to compete. Remember how we were talking about they didn't offer influence in college?
Mm-hmm.
They didn't do a whole lot of teaching you, like, how do you compete for jobs in the real world?
Right.
Yeah, they had a career center and you may get some tips.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
listen, sometimes you don't get a job not because you don't have the skills, or it's just that there was someone better. And so that
Right.
notion of how do I compete? Maybe I go up against Ryan and we're neck and neck, but Ryan brings something new and different to the role, and that's why they hire Ryan.
Right.
And it's not that I was bad or I didn't have the skills or I didn't meet the minimum quality. It was just Ryan's better. So that ability to compete. And so I think what I would do in my next journey is helping young people learn how to compete for jobs, because we all agreed on this call on one thing: is the feeling you get when you can get a job and how that makes one feel, and the difference you can make in terms of your personal life, your family, and society.
Mm-hmm.
it all starts with helping people compete. And really, isn't that what coaches do with players? How do I compete?
Yeah.
How did, Dave Roberts help the Los Angeles Dodgers compete and ultimately, beat my Yankees? Right?
Yeah.
It's all about
You're gonna
helping
get a
people
thumbs
compete
up
and
from
win.
me there. I mean,
Stop it.
Which
He's a
which part of
he's
that?
he's a Philly he's a Phillies
well,
guy.
definitely helping people compete for jobs. I actually think that could be your own podcast. Like I
Oh
love
my God.
that as
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
series of episodes. That would be fantastic. But definitely the Yankees not winning
Oh, stop. Stop.
was fantastic.
Don't
That
stop.
was a
It's too
bonus for you
soon.
on the podcast today, right?
Way
That was
too
a
soon.
bonus. Yeah.
Last thing for me, Neil, is advice you'd give your younger self. If you could go back into that
Yeah.
kid at UGA taking his 300 level HR classes and stuff like that, what advice would you give Neil?
When you're motivated in life and you're trying to move up the ladder, sometimes you may push a little too hard, right? And so at
Right.
times there's a time where you got to think space and grace and allow the human elements to kind of work their way in. And
Patience.
if you're wired to do the right things in life, it'll pay off in the end. But sometimes we forget that as we're trying to compete and move up the ladder. But sometimes you don't know what other folks are going through. Space and grace sometimes
Dude,
is a
that's
good thing
the
to
episode
practice.
title right there.
Space
That
and
is
grace.
awesome.
Here you
Neil,
go.
thank you for carving out time for
Hey,
us
I
and our
appreciate you
audience.
guys. Yeah.
This has been absolutely fantastic. Thanks to you and thanks to the audience, and we'll see you next time.